Hello, welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space in my backyard. And tonight we are going to tackle the compost pile. But before we tackle the compost pile, I want to show you something. So apparently there are sweet potatoes in this compost pile that are growing. And since nothing seems to want to grow over here, I'm going to plant those slips in this bed. That's where my sweet potatoes grew last year, and they grew fine. They weren't large, they were a little skinny, but they were tasty. So in order to not waste that space, we're gonna go ahead and pull those sweet potato slips out of the compost pile. Then we're gonna flip the compost pile into the other side and get it warmed back up. I have some grass that someone saved for me. I have coffee grinds that I got from Starbucks, and then I have kitchen scraps, which are probably disgusting because they've been either out here or inside my house for some time now. So we're gonna go ahead and tackle this compost pile. I don't turn my compost pile often, but when it needs it, I do it. And I haven't done it this year at all. I've just been adding things to it, and so that's the compost pile right now. We're gonna pull those sweet potato slips out, we're gonna plant them, and then we're gonna get to the compost pile. Okay, so all we're gonna do is take these sweet potato slips, and they don't have a lot of leaves at this point because they were in the compost pile. We're just gonna plant them as deep as we can go because that's where your sweet potatoes are gonna come from. Yeah, it's very moist over here, so I am not gonna water over here for a while either. Now this one has leaves at the bottom, but we're gonna pull the leaves off and plant. Oh, I broke that a little bit. It's cool. And there's also some roots on this one, so that's pretty cool. And we're just gonna plant it deep. I'm probably planting them, I don't know, foot apart. And like I said, I did this last year. They grew just fine over here. I'm not telling anybody else to do them a foot apart. That's what I'm doing. And since they were a gift from Mother Nature, why not use them? I'm planting them pretty deep, pulling off the lower leaves and plopping them on in there. Oh, an earthworm. Very nice. Who is calling me? Scam likely. All right, so we're done with that. Let us get ready to do this compost pile. Not one of my favorite things to do, but I am a super fan of having my own homemade compost. So that is what it is. So we're gonna get started. All right, let's see here. So right now, the compost pile is at about 80. At this time of year, it can be much warmer, especially if you took care of it. But I haven't been. So, I'm just gonna grab some, throw it over. And then we're going to layer it as we go. And we want to put it in the middle because you want it to be a pile. You can see that it's starting to break down in the middle. See that? It's the things on the top and on the sides that are not. And so you want those to go to the bottom of your pile so they can also start breaking down. One of the reasons why you should turn it. But either way, it will break down. Now, if you want to do hot composting, it's going to break down whether it's hot or cold. But if you want to do hot composting, you need nitrogen. Nitrogen comes from things like kitchen scraps, fresh grass clippings, or still moist grass clippings, coffee grinds is a green as well. So we're gonna dump a few more forks full. And then we're gonna start adding some of our fresh stuff that will help to warm up this pile. Wow, that's stuck. There it goes, it fell off. All right, whew, I need to put on some shoes because all of this is falling into my toes. So, to keep the smell down, you need browns. To keep the smell down and to also help it to start composting, you need browns. Browns are leaves, wood chips, those kind of things. Paper bags, cardboard. All of that is a brown. So you need that to also help it start composting. I know out on the website, they give you these ratios you should use. And they probably are great. I don't use ratios because I'm not good at math. So as long as my pile is breaking down, as long as it's not anaerobic, as long as it doesn't smell, I add the things the way I add the things. We have a small pile down here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put this grass in here. This grass is definitely probably matted. It is matted. It is molding. It is doing all of that. We're still gonna put it in here. It is anaerobic. But once my pile heats up, things start working together. And I've done this several times because, I'll tell you why. Because I am lazy. And so someone gives me grass, I go and pick it up, it sits wherever I put it until I get around to it. So, just so you know, that will end up breaking down. That's where it's important to have a good mix. I'm gonna break this up a little bit, not a lot, but that's where it's good to have a good mix because then it'll start to break down for you. So that's the grass I've broken up a little bit. I'm also gonna grab some, my dog is playing with the dog that's on the other side of the fence. I'm also gonna grab some coffee grinds. And I've shown this before. Trying not to fall, y'all. Small space problems. Anyway, I've shown this before. Starbucks packages this in our area. Probably packages it in a lot of areas. And even if they don't, just ask for it. They'll probably give it to you. This is also molded. We're gonna pour it in. This is where the layers start. And I'm also going to throw my kitchen scraps in here. Ooh, gross. I have lots of kitchen scraps and I have to run in the house and get the others too. And so now we're gonna go ahead and throw some leaves over that because if left uncovered, that's gonna smell. And now we're just gonna start throwing more over top of it. I am gonna spray a little bit of water just to make sure the pile is moist. You need moisture to get everything working. A good amount of leaves on that part because that's a lot of kitchen scraps. And from here on out, we're gonna put this over, probably add a little more coffee grinds because that's all of the grass and kitchen scraps I have. So the next few layers is gonna be the compost from this side and coffee grinds. So that is it. We have turned the compost pile for the first time this year. Whew, it's a lot of work, y'all. I'm happy. I'm gonna throw some leaves on top of that. I forgot to do that. Hold down the smell. But we're done turning the compost pile. So let's check the temperature now. And then when I do my next video Saturday, hopefully Saturday because it's supposed to rain like really bad all the way through Memorial Day. But anyway, let's check the temperature now. It hasn't dropped that much, but it can. So just so you know, if you go to turn your compost pile and once you're done, if the temperature drops, that's normal. I'm gonna show you. I'm thinking we're gonna be close to like 150 in the next few days with everything that I added to that compost pile. So that's the side we took it out of. There's still a little bit left, which is fine because when we turn it again, that'll be on the bottom. I need to replace my plastic that's going around this compost pile. But now that we've done the hard work, I'm not really sure how long that took. I did not time it. I will the next time, just so you know. We're gonna go ahead and check the chickens to see if we have any eggs, check the quail to see if we have any eggs. What up, girls? I already gave you treats, so it's a no. I got nothing for ya. Stop it. Get away. We'll see you later. Alligator, don't you jump up here. Bye. Is this the game we're playing? I'm not going to the treat bowl. I mean container, trash can, whatever. Do we have any quail eggs tonight? It does not appear. Oh, stop it. Go away. Bertha. Go away. You cut it. Cut it out. That is awful. You are awful sometimes. All right, let's see. Let's take a look around the garden, y'all. I want to show y'all this tomato sucker that I pulled off of the tomato and just simply put it in the ground. Looks pretty awful right now. You probably saw it when I was planting out the sweet potato vines, but I want you to see like that you can do this. I did this maybe 2 days ago, stuck it in there. It is gonna look sad for a while. That is the shock of transplant, but let me show you. So there she goes. She looked even worse yesterday. See, these leaves look very sad, but the top is still growing. I did not root it or anything. I just stuck it in the ground. So we're gonna follow that this season and see what happens. I think it'll be just fine. I've done it before. Will I get a lot of fruit? Maybe, because it's very early in the season. So we'll see. Guess what we have, y'all? Guess what we have? We have blueberries. I don't think that one is ready just yet, but they are coming in all the way down the line, actually. And this year, because I was proactive, I will actually get to eat them. Super excited. Super excited. I tasted like 5 yesterday. They were delicious. So I'm just waiting for the rest of them to come in. My netting is doing great. Look right here. I'm gonna show you through the netting because I don't want to take it off. But look, y'all, lots of blueberries are coming in. Very excited about those blueberries. The beans that we planted are starting to come up in one of the beds. We planted them in the last video, but you can see a few of them starting to pop out the soil, starting to germinate. These peppers back here are very light green compared to the peppers in the bag. So you can see the transition when I move the camera. My plan is this weekend, I'm going to go and purchase compost because I don't have any more ready. I top dressed all of the beds and filled all of the bags with my own compost before the season started, so I don't have any more, but I'm gonna go and get probably black cow and I'm gonna lay it in between those pepper plants in that bed and in that bed because I'm thinking that there are a lot of pepper plants in one bed, and so they're heavy feeders and I need to make sure that they are getting the nourishment that they need. I have been giving them fish emulsion that doesn't seem to be doing what I want it to do. I want them to be dark green like the ones in the bag. The ones up here aren't as light either, so I'm thinking that you know, I'm gonna get some compost and put it on the top. Just do a top dressing. I'm not gonna work it in or anything into this bed, and we'll see what happens because they're light green. Nobody wants that. I do believe it's gonna be potato harvesting time soon. These appear to kind of be dying back. which is cool. They were probably the ones that I planted early in the year. And so we are going to see what happens. I did put leaves in the top of all of the potato bags all the way down this row because they were drying out so fast. Like the way that I check my bags, instead of like sticking my finger down in it, because the top layer could be moist, but the bottom might not be. I lift them up. If they are light, that's when I water my bags. Learned that. I learned that the hard way because the top layer could absolutely look like moist and then the rest of the bag might not be. And you know, you plant potatoes deep in the soil and then they come up. So if the bottom of the bag is dry, the chances of you getting a good harvest might not be good if you don't make sure that your soil is consistently moist all the way through. Also, I showed this also, but the onions are bulbing very nicely. Not all of them, but there are onion bulbs coming in. This is a volunteer watermelon. I'm leaving it because it can come out and go here because it'll go into the ground under the cinder block. But yeah, I'm gonna leave that and see what happens. Volunteer plants sometimes do way better in your garden than the ones that you actually started because they actually started growing when Mother Nature told them to. So I'm leaving that. I want to see what happens. The beans are also starting to climb the trellis. Excited about that. Not so much this one, but the ones over here are starting to reach and grab onto the trellis. So we'll have purple potted pole beans soon. The beans on this side are looking a little yellow, but again, like I said, I plan to put some compost over here as well. So we'll see what happens there, but I think they'll be fine. Look at that beauty. It is a calendula. It's so pretty. I don't know which one it is, but it's very pretty. I can't wait for that to open. So far this year, I've only gotten the yellow ones. I think it's the sunrise. And so I'm just waiting for that one to open. It's gonna be beautiful. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm absolutely loving the Florida weave on the tomatoes. I mean, I'm absolutely loving it. Like, they move over a little bit. You just push them back. It's also time for me to tie them up again, but I'm absolutely loving it. And look, y'all, there are tomatoes all over this garden, and I have never in my life grown this many tomatoes, the larger ones, on one tress. I just feel like this is gonna be a good year. I also feel like this is a testimony to the compost that I made, because this is old soil that was amended with my homemade compost. So I feel like it's a testimony. These plants are healthy looking right now. They're nice and green. Of course, they're not gonna look super bushy because I am pruning them, but I think they look really good. I'm very happy with the system that I decided to use this year, and I'm happy with the fact that I made good compost. The Shasta daisies that I keep telling y'all about, so beautiful. This whole little section is gonna be filled with these daisies, and I mean, it's just gonna be beautiful. And the roses are still, you know, showing out for me. Love them. Oh, you know what I didn't show y'all? I don't know. Well, if you were here last year, you will remember that I had volunteer potatoes in my old compost tote. So there was compost in it, or, you know, just stuff still in it, and a potato started growing. And so this year, and if you remember, actually, if you remember, I said I was gonna leave one to see if it would volunteer this year, which technically it's not volunteering. I left it there last year when I pulled the potatoes that were in here. Looky, looky. What do we have? We have volunteer potatoes in this tote. I can't wait to see what it gives me. I don't really know when they started growing, so of course those are gonna have to die back because I have no idea when they started growing. But I got volunteer potatoes over there too, and I want lots of potatoes this year. You all already know that though. I feel like I say it constantly. Oh, we don't want you. Gotta prune that off. I feel like that's also a part of my success right now with these tomatoes is that I'm making sure I keep the suckers away. So I do this probably each night when I come out here just to roam. I look and see if there's any suckers and I pull them off. Look at those tomatoes, y'all. Look at them. They are really doing well. I'm very happy. Very, very happy. I am hopeful to do a whole lot of canning this year. Someone sent me a pressure canner last year for my birthday on here. To that person, I am still super, super grateful. I hope you're still here. And so I'm hoping to really get some use out of that. You know where else I plan to put some compost at? Over here on the cherry tomatoes. Because they're still looking thin. But look, that's my black cherry, y'all. Still growing. It has reached the trellis. Woohoo! Chamomile. Follow the bouncing ball. They're still really skinny. And so I'm gonna put some compost over here too. There's a lot in this bed, including beans, but beans give back to the soil. However, they're actually, down here, they don't look like. The more you go down, they look like. So I'm gonna get some compost for this area too. The Tromboncino squash hasn't come up yet, but I'm hopeful. Also, somebody said, Tromboncino squash, why? Because I like it. There are so many other squash varieties, and I am growing other squash, but I like Tromboncino squash. I like the way they look. It tasted fine to me. It wasn't like right home, oh my God, it's so delicious. But I like to grow fun stuff as well, and so Tromboncino squash is super fun to me. So that's why I grew Tromboncino squash. Another thing that we will have to do soon is to start to go around and clip out the second plant. Like in a lot of the spots, like the cucumbers, for instance, I planted 2 because there were 2 in the sale, and I didn't want to break up their roots because I really didn't have anywhere else to put them anyway. So we're going to go through, hopefully Saturday, you know, if it's not too rainy, we're going to go through and cut out the second plants so that the first plant, the one plant, can get a good amount of soil, nutrients out of the soil, and so that it's not competing. The other thing is, I'm gonna attempt to grow my cucumbers up one stem this year. I don't really know how that's gonna work, but I've seen it where you just grow one stem and you don't let it, like, you know, bush out, and then you can get cucumbers that way. Because this trellis, I don't want a big wall, if that makes sense, because there are potatoes behind it. Also, I want to have good airflow. And you know, once it starts to get warm, that's when most crops start to get diseased or, you know, to get sick because it doesn't have a lot of airflow. And in my area, it's very humid. So it's humid, moist, and if there's no airflow, it can start to get sick. So while I'm very excited to, you know that I'm going to have blueberries, I absolutely dislike having that mesh in my garden right now. Like, I just want everything to be green and colorful. I don't want mesh in my garden. But I'm gonna leave it because I also don't want the birds to eat my blueberries. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to visit me over on Instagram where I post about the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.